G'day, Sea-Dog here. Welcome to my channel for high school drilling students.
Okay, students, it's time now to perform what we call a facing off cut. Okay, so we've got our wooden blank and we've glued the tube into the hole with epoxy resin. But the problem is we've got glue all over the place, excess here, and the tube is some distance inside here. It sits a few millimetres internal to the edge of our pen blank. What we need to do is what we call a facing off cut, which is facing that nice and clean and flush, and we need it to be level, flush with the end of the tube. So when we look at the end here, we see wood nicely clean and a nice gold line around there, a gold circle, which will be the edge of the tube, and we need to do that on both ends. Okay, so we need to put our workpiece back into the chuck of the lathe. We need to have our glasses on, we need to have our long hair restrained if you have long hair. We need to make sure we got no loose clothing or jewellery on here as well. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. Now it's actually going to be a little easier for me to centre this time because I can see the jaw marks that it's left on each face, and if I line those jaw marks up with the jaws, it's likely to be fairly centred. With the facing off process too, it's not quite as critical that the centre is exactly in line with the centre of the lathe, because we're just cleaning that off. We're not doing anything like drilling or something like that, but we still want to be fairly right. And I know because I had this in here just a minute ago that that's pretty right. So this time what we're doing, I'm moving the cutting tool with this big hand wheel here. Okay, my hand here, my left hand is moving that close to our workpiece. So the big hand wheel here moves what we call the saddle, which holds our cutting tool. Okay, this is a tool post, that's a cutting tool. This big hand wheel moves that whole part of the lathe longitudinally, in other words backwards and forwards on the lathe there. And then I've got this hand wheel here, a smaller one, that's called the cross slide, and that's moving the cutting tool backwards and forwards. There is another hand wheel, this one here, we're not touching that at this stage. Okay, that just moves this backwards and forwards that way, and we use that if we want to do an angle, but we're not touching that at this stage. All we're doing is going a forward and back cut and moving, using this big hand wheel to move the cutting tool in line with the cut, so in line with where we need to then use this hand wheel to do the actual cutting process. So that's nice and close. At that point then, I've got nothing in the way and I'm ready to perform my facing cut. Turn him on. I'm using the big hand wheel which I showed you before to get it there, and then I'm going to take a small cut forward, and then I can use the big hand wheel again to cause the cutting tool to go slightly more towards the headstock, like that, and then pull it forward with this other one. And I'm just going to stop and check it. Okay, at this point I can see the tube with my eyes, but I don't know if it's flush yet, and then when I stop it I can check and I can see that's not flush, so we need to do a bit more. And I'm going to stop there because I can see that the tube is at the same surface level as the wood now. So I can stop that now, move the cutting tool out the way with a big hand wheel so that I can turn this around to the other side. So I'm going to lift that, take my workpiece out, turn him around and secure it again. And now I'm ready to face off this other end. Going to stop and have a look because I think I've got there, but I'm not 100% certain. So I've stopped, I'm having a look, and yes, I can see that we're level, the brass tube is level with the end of my piece of wood. So I'm just going to take him out and let's have a look at it. Beautiful, I can see a nice shiny brass line around there, and it's nice and smooth, level, and that's called facing off. It's a nice smooth facing cut. Beautiful.